The two most important things when you are thinking about how to equip those we love to act on our behalf is, number one, to discern for ourselves what matters most to us at the end of life. And number two, to make sure that we have open communication and dialogue. The reason this is important is because intensive care medicine and aggressive measures at the end of life often steal our voice. Breathing tubes have to pass through the vocal cords, and by default, we can't speak. We usually will require sedating medications even to tolerate the breathing tube in the first place. And even illness itself, if it's severe, or medications, often completely disorient us. So we're very ill-equipped when it happens to make these kinds of decisions. So it's very important to consider them ahead of time, ideally with a doctor, primary doctor, or another practitioner who knows you very well. And the kind of questions that you need to be asking when you're formulating these kinds of directives is, what are the things that matter to me most in life? What do I need? Looking back across the corridors of time in my life, what have I needed to serve God well? What is too much suffering for me? Suffering is something that's very subjective, and God can use suffering to refine us and to discipline us, but He doesn't mandate that we be crushed and we endure things that are going to completely crush our spirit and make life unendurable. So thinking about what constitutes suffering for me, what would I be willing to endure, and how much suffering would I be willing to endure to attain my goals at the end of life? So if it's very important to you to be able to pray and to focus on God's work in your life and to live out your faith at the end of life, to be at home, are you willing to do that with a ventilator if that can get you home? So those are the kinds of questions that you want to have in a discussion with your physician. Thinking also about your own medical history and how that comes into play. The way that this is usually documented is through an advanced directive, which is an umbrella term for any document that records your wishes so that caregivers and loved ones have an idea what you want. It can come in the form of an order for life-sustaining treatment, which is a checklist, which is a very black and white approach that is really only appropriate when you are already very much at the end of life. Or it could be in the form of a healthcare proxy form, which designates one person as your surrogate decision maker. And the most helpful one, in my opinion, is a living will, because it allows you to expound upon your values with a narrative. But forms aside, the most important thing is that you dialogue with your loved ones about what is important to you and help them to understand your faith and what matters and how Jesus matters in your life. And talk about it openly, talk about it repeatedly, and in very specific ways. That dialogue matters more than any individual form.